So here we are, episode 10, and I wanted to make this episode special, and it happened all on its own. I spent the day working on my truck in the hotel's parking lot, much to their displeasure, but I still did it. And then I hit the $1 Million Highway, and I spent the entire day filming on the $1 Million Highway, because it's going to be a video, and you're going to want to see that. But after driving all day on this very precarious road, around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I had the bright idea of opening up the trail book. So this is my last day filming on Poughkeepsie Gulch, and even though I almost flipped over yesterday and I didn't make the wall, it is what it is. This place is magnificent. It's just beautiful out here. Whole different type of scenery. Entirely different skill level trail. Indeed it was. Poughkeepsie Gulch was one of the scariest, most amazing trails I had ever been on. And I'm going to show you this trail like no one's ever shown it to you before, period. I spent 3 days on this trail getting this footage, so you're definitely going to want to sit back, relax, and check this out. So I had spent a lot more time in the town of OURAY than I had planned on, but I'll tell you what, I did not waste it. My cameras were rolling at all times. And when you're in OURAY and you love wildlife and the outdoors, it's absolutely everywhere. It's literally just walking down the street. Like, when have you ever seen a hummingbird moth? I had never seen one before, except in the town of OURAY. It's a thing. Plus, OURAY affords you the opportunity to take phenomenal astrophotography pictures. I took these pictures myself with a Canon EOS R5. First try, first time, and I nailed it. Somewhat. The Milky Way was amazing, and my father is the one that turned me on to the stars when I was a kid, and he's never actually seen the Milky Way. So getting these pictures was pretty important for me, and I'm glad that I was able to do it, at any rate. With a population of under 1,000 people living in the town of OURAY year-round, the little Switzerland of America is a town that's been preserved in time. I spend as much time here as humanly possible, and if you've never been, it's definitely a place you want to put on your bucket list. It's amazing. I had spent a lot of time in the town of OURAY and in the mountains surrounding it. And after spending the entire day filming the $1 Million Highway, I cracked open the trail book and found a difficult, or a red trail, and it was Poughkeepsie Gulch. Now, the trail to get to Poughkeepsie Gulch is also a red trail. It's called Mineral Creek. And I started this trail at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which wasn't very bright, but it didn't matter. I was just going to go in, check it out a little bit, see what was going on. And, of course, I ended up spending 3 days in there. The most beautiful, scariest, hardcore trail I've probably ever been on. No exaggeration. And the camera angles you're going to see, you're going to feel like you were there. Or at least that was my plan. So check this out. As soon as you pull onto the trail off the $1 Million Highway, look down and to your right and you'll see a really cool stream that goes through a cave under the highway. It's very cool. Okay, I am on Mineral Creek heading towards Poughkeepsie Gulch. As soon as you get on this trail, it's a series of very steep switchbacks that it's covered with rocks the size of footballs and boulders. You are now on Mineral Creek, which is also a difficult red trail just to get you to Poughkeepsie Gulch. It's no joke. After you complete all the steep switchbacks bringing you up to this point right here, the road's going to narrow down to a shelf road that's only got enough room for one vehicle to pass. And there's a lot of blind corners. I was beeping my horn before I rolled around a corner trying to let anybody know that I was coming, and I ran into a lot of people on the trail on the weekend. During the week, I was basically alone, so keep that in mind. So here's the deal. In 1873, instead of working the areas around Cunningham Gulch and Arasta Gulch, Reuben J. McNutt and George Howard trekked into the high peaks of the north side of the Animas River, which were relatively unexplored. And what became Lake Emma at the head of the Eureka Gulch, they found a particularly rich gold and silver vein and claimed it the sunny side. The partners then crossed north over barren ridges and found another silver formation at a long abandoned mine at the head of the gulch, indicating that Spanish or French prospectors had been there much earlier. They named the mine Poughkeepsie, which also became the name of the gulch. To officially recognize their claims, McNutt and Howard organized the Eureka Mining District. At the time, the Eureka District took in nearly the entire region of the north side of the Animas River. After driving this trail in a vehicle specifically built to do just this, it's always amazing to me that men came in here on foot, in covered wagons, on donkeys or mules or pack horses, and actually blazed this trail before we even were born. It's an amazing feat if you really think about it. And again, this is the history of the United States. Here's a reminder, all the rock crawling you've seen me do is on this shelf road. It's no joke. If I had to compare this trail to any other trail, I would compare it to Cane Creek in Moab, specifically Hamburger Hill, because you're doing crazy crawls on a shelf. Paying attention when you come to blind curves is a really good idea because I passed a lot of vehicles and some of these were really tough to do because the other driver got nervous or didn't know where to pull the truck over. So try to anticipate oncoming traffic, and if you run into it, where you're going to pull your vehicle over or where they're going to pull their vehicle over so you guys can pass each other. It's always a little unsettling when I do maneuvers like this because, again, the lift my truck has is great in many situations, except when I'm off camber. It gets scary. After you make it past the shelf, you come into just a forest area like you're looking at right here. And it's a nice cruise that brings you up to either Engineers Pass or Poughkeepsie Gulch, one of the two. But no matter what, on a shelf or not, there's never a dull moment on this trail. This was one of the most enjoyable trails that I've been on ever. Okay, now back to the history. With more prospectors making discoveries in the Poughkeepsie Gulch during 1875 and 1876, the Poughkeepsie Mining District was created from the Eureka Mining District. By 1877, partnerships had the Alaska, Bonanza, Columbia, Forest, Old Lout, and Red Roger mines in limited production. Pack trains carried the ores in sacks south over a trail that crossed Poughkeepsie Pass, or Hurricane Pass, and down Cement Creek to the Green Smelter. The sale of the Old Lout mine for $10,000, even though it was shallow, caused a stir and stimulated a small rush to Poughkeepsie Gulch. In 1879, local investors funded a toll road up Cement Creek for 8 miles to Gladstone, and then up a steep and rough climb to the head of Poughkeepsie Gulch. From the top of the gulch, a pack trail led down to the gulch and then on into Ouray. The road was built to access H.A.W. Tabor's mines in Poughkeepsie Gulch. Without mines, we wouldn't have most of these trails. Remember that. Now, for anybody interested, the history is coming from 4x4explore.com. And anywhere else I pull history up from, I'll leave links in the description below the video so you can look at it for yourself, because it's very interesting stuff. Most people just blow through the trail just to get the trail done and don't even take time to drink in the environment or even know the history. I definitely do that. So there's that. And also, 4x4explore.com rates this trail as an 8 difficulty out of a possible 10. This trail is no joke. Okay, we're almost to the intersection where you can either go to Engineers Pass or down Poughkeepsie Gulch. So let me finish up the history of this real quick. By 1880, the district featured 9 mines in production. Of these, only the Alaska, Bonanza, Red Rogers, and Old Lout were well developed. 2 prospectors staked the Bonanza in 1877, which the Kalamazoo Bonanza Mining Company bought in 1879, driving the Bonanza Tunnel and sinking a shaft. The Old Lout yielded small amounts of ore from 1877 until 1879, when it saw substantial development. Business entrepreneurs arrived in the district after Tabor's involvement, and a swarm of prospectors followed, as prospectors often do. Now, there's a reason I put chapters in the video so you can skip ahead, but let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you the history of this road, which will just make you a better person all around, especially if you travel this road. And second, the footage that's coming is going to blow away the footage that you've seen thus far. I guarantee it, or all your money will be refunded. As early as 1878, freight packers traveling between Silverton and Ouray maintained a camp on Lake Como, which became the seed for a small mining hamlet called Poughkeepsie. William Boot took time from his Mineral Point Mercantile to open the first store and saloon in 1879, and others established a restaurant. The Poughkeepsie Post Office was established in 1880, and Lucius B. Kendall began printing the Poughkeepsie Telegram newspaper as well. The boom was short-lived though. By 1881, the Alaska went bust, Tabor lost interest, and most prospectors were unsuccessful. When the prospectors, business owners, and most of the mining outfits left for the winter in 1881, they did not return. The Poughkeepsie district would not participate in the boom that swept the rest of the San Juan County when the railroad arrived in 1882. In 1889 and 1899, the Poughkeepsie district saw some activity. Standard Oil reopened the Maid of the Mist and conducted development for a short time. In 1900, an unidentified interest tried working the Alaska, but it was sold the following year for back taxes owed by Horace Tabor. These 2 operations and a number of prospects provided just enough business to support the Poughkeepsie camp at the mouth of the Poughkeepsie Gulch. During the late 1890s, it featured a mercantile, combination restaurant, saloon, several cabins, mail service. By the early 1900s, the camp had disappeared. And that leaves us with what we're driving on right now. So again, like in almost every video having to do with mountain trails, either fur trappers or miners made the roads that we hold so dearly available for us to use. So remember that. and teach your children. Or don't. But here we go. Now, we're going down Poughkeepsie Gulch. Okay, here we are. We're at the intersection. You can either go up to Engineers Pass, which I've done several times, or you can go down Poughkeepsie Gulch, which I had never done. And as a matter of fact, unless I looked it up in the trail book, I didn't even know about it. So I'm at the base of Engineers Pass, and I'm about to head down Poughkeepsie Gulch. And there's a bunch of pickup trucks that have been sitting up there for 30 minutes. It's a dirt road, just drive down it. But instead, they're up there hooting and hollering and spotting each other and probably making it much worse. But I mean, I stopped up here because it was a nice little shady spot, because in the truck was hot. Coming up the shelf road, the sun's right on you. And I think I got dehydrated yesterday because I feel like I got a hangover today. So I've been drinking water, but still can't shake it. I had one guy take me up on my offer to do this trail, and then he bailed on me. That's how hardcore this trail is. It is no joke. According to what I'm told, the wall is the most extreme rock climb in OURAY. So we'll see. But I mean, I'll tell you what, I didn't do the wall. I did the rest of the trail yesterday, and I was a changed person. No two ways about it. I got rid of the bike in the rack for the day because yesterday I almost pulled them right off, and I don't want to do that. And I lightened up the truck by a couple of 100 pounds. So it would be nice if I had those longer trailing arms on the back, because it would put my rear tire exactly center like it should be. But I haven't made my way to California yet. I've been on the road 60 days today. 60 days. I got a headache. Whatever. At any rate, it is absolutely beautiful out here. I really hope I can capture this gulch, because I've never seen, I mean, it was magnificent. So much so that I was so shaky yesterday. I was so stressed by the time I finished the trail, I still had to come back, because yesterday was driving the trail, today's driving the trail and filming, hopefully. So hopefully I do it justice, because it is amazing. Look at this. Hey, let's bring our full-size work trucks to the trails, to the Jeep trails. It's a terrible idea. So here's an aerial view, because I flew a drone up there because these guys were just spotting each other for so long but not moving anywhere. I had to see what was up. Now, these are the Toyotas that I was behind at one point, and there's the Jeep that was behind me. And they've had to sit there for 40 minutes. They're trying to go up, and these guys are just blocking the trail with their really large trucks. Extended cab, crew cab, with an 8-foot bed, turbo diesel pickup truck does not belong on Engineers Pass. It just is what it is. When you have cars bunch up like this, this is when things go wrong. And when things go wrong, it gives the crybaby, Biden-hugging liberal jerk-offs the opportunity to close the trail. And that's what they do. So there's that. This is a traffic jam that lasted the entire time I prepared and cooked my lunch. A bunch of pickup trucks coming down Engineers Pass and a bunch of Toyotas trying to go up. The pickups were having a hell of a time because, you know what? Taking a work truck on a Jeep trail is going to be problematic. It just is what it is. But on that, I'll digress. So as soon as you pass the Poughkeepsie Gulch gate that's open, all the fun begins right off the bat. You've got tons of water crossings. You've got tons of rock climbs. You've got tons of shelves. There's ruins from mines. And you haven't even got to the best part yet at all. You're still on your way. Words cannot describe how amazing this trail is because of where it takes you. California Pass, Hurricane Pass, the lake in the sky. But the road there is no joke at all. Like I said, lots of water, and lots of rocks. As a matter of fact, there's a thing called the rock garden, but we'll get to that. But first, we're going to come to an old, abandoned, dilapidated mine on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, you're now in the gulch. You're surrounded by meadows, wildflowers, and massive mountains. And water, depending on what time of year you go in, I suppose. Once you come out into this clearing, you can clearly see the mountains on your right-hand side, and on your left-hand side, you'll see all this debris with what used to be a mine at the very top. And right to the left of it, you can't miss it, is this amazing waterfall. I don't know if it comes from the mountaintops or if it comes from a spring, but it's amazing. The color, the clarity of the water, and it runs down the trail. And if you're looking at this, you just drove up the stream that this creates down the trail, and it's just phenomenal. Something you don't see in most places. Every off-roader loves water crossings. Well, in this one, you're just driving upstream, literally. But the good thing about this is when you're inbound, heading in, this cleans your tires up nicely for the rock garden that lays ahead. But before you head to the rock garden, because it is nerve-wracking, drink this in, literally. Once you're done looking at the waterfall and the stream, you'll notice that there's an amazing valley with a meadow and massive mountains right in front of you. And I had to stop and spend a lot of time getting that on film because it was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And I've spent time in every mountain range in the United States of America, and this particular pass or gulch totally blew me away. This is the residual from the waterfall you were just looking at. To get to the waterfall, you have to drive up this. So I kind of spoiled the surprise ahead of time, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. Rewind it. Unsubscribe. Hit the thumbs down. Whatever. Now this mountain valley is special, I believe, because in this valley lies the actual gulch. Now being from Boston, we don't have very many gulches in my neck of the woods. but I do believe I found the gulch that Poughkeepsie Gulch is named after, and it's right there. And it also has a waterfall in it that I would guarantee 99 out of 100 people that drive this trail have never seen, because it's down in a gulch right there, and you'd have to have some skills to locate it, or some luck. I'll go with luck, but I did locate it, and I flew the drone right in there to get this footage. This waterfall is amazing because you wouldn't even notice it, and as a matter of fact, you probably wouldn't even notice the gulch, and I do believe this is the gulch for which the trail is named. I could be mistaken, it's happened before, but on that, I will digress. So enjoy this. This was not easy to do, and I still did it. And remember, we're at the almost 25-minute mark, and I haven't even shown you the hard, awesome, amazing footage as of yet, because we're still not there. That's how phenomenal this trail is. 26 minutes in, or 25 minutes in, and we haven't even got to the best part. This is just some of the best parts, if you follow what I'm saying, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. It was amazing. And this was on a weekday, so there was nobody else on the trail. The reason there's no drone footage going in is there was too much traffic. It's too risky. I'm not going to be that dude. So there, as they say, is that. Now that you've driven up the stream through that valley, you're going to hit 3 puddles, and the last one is really large and deep. That's telling you that you're on your way to a very steep, very long, I was calling it a rock mile, but it turns out it's called the Rock Garden, and it's coming. I almost forgot. Before you get to the rock garden climb, there's a lot of boulders you have to traverse first. Good-sized boulders, I might include. Like this. Now you might have noticed that I didn't skinny pedal it. I went through slowly because these rocks were incredibly jagged, and I didn't want to risk one of my tires, even though in 7 years I have never taken out a Nitto mud grappler, ever. Never even popped one off the rim. They're that good. Just telling you. And just when you think it can't get any worse, there's more boulders. I almost forgot to mention that. And they look, well, twice as big as these. So let's see what happens, shall we? Now right here is where my suspension really shines. But remember, my truck is fully loaded down. I've got a tent up top, I've got a freezer in the back, I've got drawers, I've got spare tools, so she's top heavy. Sometimes it works for me, sometimes it works against me. Later on, or in part 2 of this video, depends, you'll see where it works against me. So now that I've made it past all the big boulder climbs, it's time to hit what I've been calling the rock mile. Because this is a 1,000 foot climb. It brings you up 1,000 feet in elevation. And it is nothing but incredibly large, loose rocks. And according to all trails, you should be using a locker. I didn't use a locker for this. I don't think I used, did I? I can't remember. I'm fairly certain I didn't use my lockers on this trail at all. That's not true. I did, actually. I used my lockers at some point. I can't remember where it was. It is what it is. When you get old, you'll forget everything too. Or not. Now I'm showing you an extended version of this because this takes forever. You're on this for a long time. Going up and coming down are equally as bad. And I want you to understand that. I mean, look at the truck rocking. And while you're trying not to deal with wheel slip and every other thing, in the middle of the trail, you'll come across incredibly large boulders that will slow you down. So I suppose using a rear locker wouldn't be the worst idea, but I didn't use one. Still going, still going. It really is that long. And again, it brings you up 1,000 feet in elevation. And if you look behind me, you can see the valley that we were in. Now we're coming to the mountaintop climbs. These climbs are insane because most of the time you're totally blind. If you've never done this trail like I didn't do this trail, you have no idea what's around the corner. And you're doing crazy climbs with good-sized rock ledges on them and taking a right-hand turn at the same time. And they're very steep, as I'm trying to show you here. So after the rock mile and your first steep climb, the one you just saw, now you can see the track basically laid out ahead of you. And it is crazy. It goes into this mountain valley that goes up to Hurricane Pass and to California Pass and to Lake Como. But to get there is a trip. It's an absolute trip. I've never been on a track this twisty, turny, steep ever. And I've done almost every single trail in the United States of America. So on this particular weekday, I rolled up on a crew of Land Cruisers. These guys were from California, but all of them sounded like they were from either Ireland or Britain. One of the two. I don't remember. And they had an overheating 470. I think it was a GX 470 or an LX 470, one of the two, but they were overheating. And they were right at the bottom of a pass, and these guys were pretty shook after doing the trail that I just showed you. So I was going to let them go ahead and get some drone footage, etc. But then I decided it'd be helpful for me to lead them through the next section, because I knew about the next section, and there is a 90-degree turn on a shelf that it's scary, let's put it that way. So I did the right thing. I hooked up the cameras and I brought these guys through the pass. Now, my decision to lead them through this pass was after watching them spotting just going down a downhill. There was nothing here. So they were taking it really, really slow. And I knew that the pass coming up was going to freak them out. So I did the right thing, I think. It was very cool. Very cool guys, very cool trucks. The 80 series had a 5.0 V8 in it, which was very cool. Nice truck. Now recently, this year, I put a brand new Toyota long block in my truck, 4.5, rebuilt my supercharger again, so I basically have a brand new drivetrain. And at altitude, my supercharger doesn't really do anything. And sometimes I regret not putting a V8 in it, because I could have, but I wanted to stick with Toyota because it's a Toyota. So there's that. Now this is the steep climb, switchback, shelf road that I wanted to walk them through, because the first time I did this, my front driver's tire came off the ground what felt like 3 feet. This is no joke, and I really hope the camera picks up what I'm trying to put down, because this was crazy. And the whole time you're doing it, especially for the first time, you're totally blind. You can't see what's going on at all. And the truck is at such an angle that you can't really get out and spot yourself because it's too steep. It's that bad. And sadly, video cameras don't pick it up. But watch the front end sliding. See that? Look at the truck tipping. It's no joke at all. The fellas made it through pretty much no problem at all. But they're driving high clearance, brand new, all-wheel drive. They're probably locked, etc., etc. And I'm driving a Monster 80 series, so it's slightly different experience. You'd have to be in the truck to understand what I'm saying. And recently, I gave one of my subscribers a ride up to NORAD Shelf Road, and that was the first time I've ever had a passenger in the vehicle while I was been off-road. No one's ever actually sat in my truck besides myself. But here goes the V880. Nice. Nicely done. Nice truck. So after I got them through that pass, I told them about Hurricane Pass, I told them about California Pass, and I told them about the lake. And the lake is magnificent. If you've never seen Lake Como, I'm going to try to show it to you as best as I possibly can, but this was a color that I've never seen in my life. The color of this water was literally something I've never seen in my life. It was totally amazing. Now that I'm basically at my objective, the roads are still gnarly. They're still steep, they're still twisty, there's still plenty of rock ledges, but the view is absolutely unbelievable. Something I've never seen before, and I've been in every mountain range in the United States. This particular valley or gulch was phenomenal. It was almost otherworldly. It was so beautiful. Now this is the long shelf road that brings you up to Hurricane Pass that little white vehicle right there is on. And then these are the mountaintops that you're treated to. And that's the trail that I just came up. And it sure does look easy from here. But when I was on it, it was a totally different animal. And fortunately, other people were on it, so they came to the same conclusion. Now this is Lake Como. It's a high mountain lake at an elevation of 12,319 feet above sea level. It's in the San Juan Mountains. It's obviously in Poughkeepsie Gulch, and it's one of the highest roads of Colorado. I tried to figure out if there were any fish in here because I'd love to know how they ended up in a mountaintop lake, but I couldn't figure that out. I'm not positive. But the color of the water was a color I had never actually seen in real life, and I really hope the camera lenses pick it up. All the way around this, there's little caves and dugouts that I went and explored using the drone because getting down to them on foot was going to be an impossibility. For me it was, unless I had rappelling gear, which I did, but I wasn't doing it. Just wasn't happening. So this is the best I could get. I was really hoping to see a bear or a mountain goat or a caveman, somebody in there, but I didn't see anything. And as a matter of fact, the entire time I was up there, the only thing I saw as far as wildlife were ravens, marmots, and pikas, those little squeaky guys. But again, I tried to do the best I possibly could with the camera, so I hope it's worthwhile. I absolutely love this stuff. It's amazing. I mean, look at this view. If you're watching this in 4K, I'm stoked because it takes me forever to edit and upload in this high of a resolution, but I think it's worth it. It's amazing being up here. After you pass the lake, you're going to have your choice of going up to California Pass or up to Hurricane Pass, either or. I did both. But I really wanted to check the water to see what I could see in here. And it's amazing. I mean, you're looking right at the bottom. It is utterly amazing up here. And the thing that I love the most about this particular trail is it's not heavily traveled at all. Most people don't know about it. They're too busy worrying about Black Bear Pass and Engineers Pass. And I was the same. With barely any people up here, I decided to head up California Pass real quick, just to get some footage. There was a lot of side-by-sides and dirt bikes, as you can see, but everybody was cool, everybody made way, and everybody let you know if anyone was behind them. You gotta love the trails less traveled. Seeing as how I was already at the bottom, I waited and let the truck cool down for a bit and let these guys get by, and then I headed up. And you're going straight up. It's not dangerous, it's just way up there, just like any other mountain pass, so always pay attention. Or don't, it's your call. But once you get up there, the view that it affords is unlike anything else. It's spectacular. You're on top of a mountain, looking down on a mountain. It's amazing. And from this vantage point, I was actually able to see the Land Cruiser fellas coming up some of the trails I just came up to get where I am. And like I said, you're never out of the woods. Everything on this trail challenges you, and it's awesome. It's just awesome. It's a non-stop 6.4 miles of awesome. One of the best trails I've ever been on, and sometimes I was so scared, it reminded me I was alive, and that's exactly why we do this. It always kind of freaks me out that from this vantage point, looking down on the trail that I just came up, it looks like a children's race car track or something to that effect. It makes it look so easy from this view, but this view was like no other. You get to look down on Lake Como, you get to look down on the valley, the gulches, and you are almost the highest mountain peak up there. If there's a higher one, I couldn't find it. The altitude was so high that my camera lenses were making the pressure or lack thereof was causing them to squeak. I never ran into that before. And that's the trail right there going up to Hurricane Pass. And we'll get to that when we get to that. Heading back down California Pass involves doing a 3-point turn on this mountain peak, and I hate doing that. I hate being blind going backwards, but I did it. And driving down, I'm in 4-wheel low, so the truck, the gears are completely doing its job, and I kept trying to get the thought out of my head, what if the truck stalls? Because if it happens to stall, you lose everything. So it's pretty exciting, you know what I mean? It really is. It's just the most invigorating thing you can possibly do besides hang gliding or jumping out of an airplane, I would imagine. So here's the deal. We're going to have to make this a part 2 because we're already at 50 minutes and I have another 50 minutes of incredible footage. And I won't be able to fit it all in this one video and upload it successfully. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below. I will return the favor. And look for part 2 coming rather soon. I am out.